Medium voltage has one goal, getting from the good electronic circuit to the advanced integrated circuit. And we basically need one thing for this, a transistor. That is going to be the hardest thing. To make the advanced circuit, we're going to need wafers, which is like RAM chips and IC chips, the good integrated circuits, which you can already make, annealed copper, fine electron wire, transistors, and some liquid tin. The difficult bits here are going to be the transistors, so let's have a look at those first. A transistor is made in an assembler, and it looks simple. It only needs three things. Fine tin wire, easy peasy, a silicon plate, and liquid polyethylene. So let's first go through liquid polyethylene. In this part of the tutorial, for my fast, quick guide to Gregtech, I'm also going to be explaining to you about how to input and output items and filter. One of the items you're going to need a lot of is aluminum. So one way we can do that automatically is going to be the advanced rock crusher. Put in diorite, pump it out into an advanced macerator, making diorite dust. Into there, you then get mirabolite dust, which you can just throw in the bin, and clay dust. So this is a passive way of getting clay. Going down, we also have the advanced electrolyzer, where we put in the clay dust and we get some water, silicon dust, sodium dust, lithium dust, and aluminum. All of these are passive, made out of thin air, technically. And what I'm trying to highlight here is that you can really easily choose the way you're making things in Gregtech. There's often many different ways to make stuff. Now, what you'll see here on the advanced centrifuge is obviously we're making mirabolite and clay. However, I only want to import into here the clay. So what I've actually made on here, I'm going to use my crowbar to get rid of it, is an item filter and a robot arm. So you can right click on a robot arm and it's a cover. I can then shift click with an empty hand to go into here, and you can see I can say mode export or import, and I can add an item filter into this slot here. I add in the item filter, I'm whitelisting it, and I've put it on as filtered for clay dust, meaning when I put on my tin item pipe, I will only get clay dust going in here. And that is how you filter items. And as shown, use a crowbar to remove those covers from your machines. And that is how you can filter in and out of machines in Gregtech, for items at least, with robot arms. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you, one, how to make passive materials like aluminum, but secondly, how to filter items. Next, let's actually go on to the polyethylene after that short break. So, this here makes polyethylene. In the advanced assembler, we have our liquid polyethylene. Step 1, you want to make an advanced brewery and put potatoes or something alike in there. The potatoes will get turned into biomass. Oh no, I want potatoes. And yes, you can use hoppers onto Gregtech machines. Water and potatoes make biomass. Put the biomass into an advanced distillery where you will get wood pulp, annoyingly, and you will also get ethanol. Pump out the ethanol into an advanced chemical reactor with sulfuric acid. You would have made sulfuric acid earlier on in, I think it was low voltage. And now notice on here, it does say acidic, handle with care. In order to transport your sulfuric acid, which you will need to, you're going to need vanadium steel. That's the earliest, in my opinion, material that can transport it. Vanadium steel pipes are going to be made in an electric blast furnace with vanadium steel dust, made it in a mixer from chromium, vanadium, and steel. You obviously have already been making steel, and vanadium and chromium are both, you can both dig those up. So vanadium steel isn't that difficult to make. Once you've got your sulfuric acid, then what I want you to do is output that into another advanced chemical reactor with oxygen, which you, again, would have already been making. One thing to note here is that as a byproduct, you will get diluted sulfuric acid. What I've done here, similarly to the robot arm, is I've used an electric pump, which is the fluid version, on the bottom of this, on the top of this pipe, on the bottom of this machine, which is a super tank, to filter the acid going in. One thing to note here, it's not very good at filtering out of machines on the fluids. It's better at filtering on the input. What do I mean by that? Well, I filtered here to whitelist ethylene. And what I can do in JEI is drag the ethylene onto the whitelist here, so you don't have to have a bucket of it. But you must use a fluid filter for that, and it's called an electric pump for the item as opposed to a robot arm. The fluids can slosh about in here, Like, for example, I have this one set to output, which means it will output both the ethylene and also the diluted sulfuric acid. So I've made sure that I've put the super tank on the first pipe available so that the sulfuric acid won't go sloshing around down here. It immediately goes into here because there's a whitelist filter on the bottom of the super tank 1. Super tank 1s are really good because you can void fluids. Like when the tank is full, it will automatically start voiding the diluted sulfuric acid. So you don't have to worry about this tank getting full. One thing to note, though, is that if you do want to use the super tank 1, it will need a hermetic casing, which will require a large polyethylene fluid pipe. And we're only making polyethylene here. So to start with, you may want to use a bucket to bucket out your polyethylene, your polyethylene, your ethylene, and bucket it out of the advanced chemical reactor, bucket it into the second advanced chemical reactor with the oxygen to make liquid polyethylene, and then you can solidify it using a few simple machines, and then make the pipe to then make the super tank. If you've gotten a bit confused there, because that was a bit of a confusing thing, TLDR, you can use buckets in here of your hand to bucket out your ethylene and then polyethylene to then make a hermetic casing from the pipe, because the super tank has a voiding ability. Make sure you're whitelisting the input on the bottom so that the pipe will immediately put the diluted sulfuric acid in, and your ethylene will flow straight on and whitelist it going into here with an electric pump to the advanced chemical reactor. Obviously pumping oxygen, but just to recap on there, 1, the advanced brewery, potatoes, etc. into biomass. Secondly, put that biomass into an advanced distillery, which will make ethanol. The ethanol goes into an advanced chemical reactor with sulfuric acid, which will need vanadium steel to transport the sulfuric acid, which you would have been making from your EBF earlier. And that will make you ethylene. Dump the diluted sulfuric acid, use a filter going into a super tank if you can, which you can actually void it, and then have your ethylene going into a third chemical reactor with oxygen to make polyethylene, and have that going into your advanced assembler. Then, looking at the transistor recipe, you can see here we just need silicon plates and liquid polyethylene. Now, silicon plates need, of course, silicon. Silicon isn't as complex to make. At this point, you will need to be using hot ingots because the recipes we're making are getting more complex. And that means that the ingots we're making, both Kanthal and silicon, yes, I'm aware we haven't discussed Kanthal yet, but I mention it because it is one you're going to need to do, so you haven't missed anything. Hot silicon is made... you cool down the hot silicon with water in a chemical bath to make silicon. Hot silicon is made in an electric blast furnace. But what you'll notice here is you need Kanthal coils. So to make the hot silicon, you need carbon dust and silicon dioxide. Silicon dioxide can be made in a few ways. Ore washing through soapstone ore, and you get silicon dioxide dust as a chance when you wash it through a Baker Stick ore washer. That's probably the easiest way. And carbon dust, which can be simply made from coal in a centrifuge. I think it's the 7th one. You can centrifuge coal into carbon dust, and that will make you your hot silicon. But again, you'll need to upgrade your electronic blast furnace to Kanthal coils. So let's talk about that quickly. Kanthal coils are made from Kanthal. Who would have thought? With liquid copper, very easy to get. The Kanthal, however, is made also in, I'm going to get there in a second, a chemical bath by cooling down hot Kanthal. Hot Kanthal is made in the EBF, and you'll notice, good, so I can make Kanthal with cupronickel coils, which I already have, and I can then just upgrade my EBF. But there's one thing here. High voltage. So in order to make silicon, we need Kanthal coil EBF. A Kanthal coil EBF needs cupronickel, but high voltage. So how do we do that? Well, the same as when you made your low voltage ones, and you use 2 LV energy hatches to make medium voltage, we can also use 2 medium voltage hatches to make a high voltage recipes. So medium voltage energy hatches, 2 MVs equal 1 HV in your EBF, that is going to need a ULPIC chip. How do we make those? Well, let's work it back again. Chips are made in a cutter with water, or lubricant. You can use lubricant from fish oil and it'll be quicker, or just use water from a ULPIC wafer, which needs a laser engraver, and a laser engraver uses glass lens from sapphire, which you can just dig up pretty much from sapphire plates, from a cutter, from a sapphire block, which you can make a block of raw sapphire literally just by 3x3. And then silicon wafer is made in a cutter from a monocrystalline silicon boule, which you use with water in a cutter again. So we're using the cutter a lot now, but you do get 16 of them. And the monocrystalline silicon boule is made from a small pile of gallium arsenide dust, which you would have made earlier. And don't worry, this EBF recipe only requires copper, nickel, and medium voltage, and also silicon dust. Silicon dust you can get by putting through a basic ore washer and getting, purified asbestos, and then getting a 14% chance. An easier way would be, oh God, I've forgotten now. Centrifuging redstone in a LV or above. Centrifuge, 10 redstone dust does make 1 silicon dust. From soapstone ore, you can also just grind it up and you get a 14% chance to get silicon dioxide dust, which you can then electrolyze 3 silicon dioxide into 1 silicon. That's another easy way of getting silicon dust, but I'll let you look through that because this is the quick guide, remember, not the full in-depth guide, and therefore you should be able to look through and see how to get that. But that means that you can then upgrade your Kanthal coils, etc. Then let's go back. Remember, we're trying to make an advanced integrated circuit, which requires RAM chips and IC chips. Now, these are made in the same way that you used the wafers earlier. So you now know how to make those. You need the transistors, which need the silicon, which I've just showed you how to make, and liquid polyethylene, which I've also showed you how to make. And the rest of it is just the good integrated circuits, fine electrum wire, which is silver and gold to make electrum, and annealed copper. Annealed copper is just made in a arc furnace, which is a new machine you can make, which you just put oxygen and copper in and get annealed copper. It's very simple. And there you go. That is the quick guide now to medium voltage, and we're off on to high voltage. I hope you did enjoy the video. Click that subscribe button if you did, and of course leave a thumbs up. If you're looking for other mod guides, I do a hell of a lot on this channel. My actual goal on this channel is to complete every major mod in the entirety of Minecraft for Forge, Fabric, etc. If you look at my channel, I have a tech mod shelf, a magic mod shelf, a utility and standalone mod shelf, so ones that aren't in playlists. I also have now mod pack guides as a shelf. So at the moment I am live streaming through RLcraft, and you can get that of course on my lives. I live every Wednesday and Saturday, and you can always see when the next scheduled stream is. And I play through the mod pack, and then I will also do separate guides on that mod pack. So if you are looking for specific mod packs, or you just want to come along and ask me some questions or hang out, you can also do that there. Do also just use the search bar if you are looking for a specific mod. And if you'd like to play with me, the mod pack that I do live stream, I do from our Patreon server, which of course you can join down below, which would massively support the channel, but also gets you access to things like that.